Welcome to the third installment of Leadership in Action, the show. We have some good news for you. In fact, we have a whole show of good news. We are back this week with a focus on the finer things, homecoming and the arts. Man, we're excited. You might say we're heading over our heels for this episode. If you haven't watched the first two episodes, be sure to go check them out right after this edition. I'm Leo Ramos, alongside with me, Landon Hartzell. Let's get into the good news.
For those of you who don't know, Spirit Week was last week, and what a time it was. Everyone looked great in their spirit wear, and the school was full of energy. I mean, just look at these wonderful costumes from the students and faculty. It's honestly impressive how dedicated people were.
While on topic of Spirit Week, we can't forget about homecoming. Let's show you a quick highlight of last year's homecoming.
Wow, that really highlights the best of last year's homecoming. I remember it was so much fun, it seemed like it went by quicker than a blur. Now, let's show you how it went this year.
Speaking of homecoming, your CBC cadets took on St. Thomas Aquinas Saints for the homecoming game. The best from Missouri versus the best from Kansas. The cadets blew out the competition away just like Dorothy's house, winning 42-7.
On a theme of homecoming, we welcomed some of our alum back last week to celebrate their introduction into the CBC Hall of Fame, as we do every year. They were excited to be back at CBC and reflect back on their time here fondly.
My name is Niall Gannon, and I graduated from CBC in 1986. From here, went to the Citadel and was commissioned as an Army officer, and then I was hired by Shearson Lehman Brothers, so I've worked 30 years with a Wall Street career. I'm very grateful for three things. The ROTC program, which was a bedrock of the leadership training here, is what brought me to the Citadel. The military and the appreciation of the military was always something that was very important to me. And I would also speak to the music. CBC was the only boys' high school that had a marching band when I was looking at schools. And so I was in the jazz band, the chorus, the concert band, any band that I could be in. But music was what opened the door to my career. And then last would just be the faith formation that was in place here in the religion department, not only in the chapel or the senior retreat, but the teachers who talked about the way faith was going to get you through challenges in life. It is an honor, of course. My gratitude to the teachers, the faculty members who breathed life into all of these students, all of my classmates, that they get the thanks and the recognition that they deserve. They were at the forefront of that.
Well, my name's Jim O'Connell, and I graduated with the class of 1953. Brother Conrad, the principal at the time, suggested I investigate going to a military academy because I thought I would be able to succeed there, which I did. And I was, and that led to a 20-year career in the Navy. When I retired, I went to work for McDonnell Douglas and got involved in the space business at Goddard Space Flight Center. Since then, I've been involved with nonprofit organizations of the musical variety, and I've been treasurer in 3 of them. It's a great honor, and it's, as I was thinking about what I would say tonight, I've come sort of full circle. I've started my adult life here at CBC, and I'm nearing the end of my adult life at year 86. And after 72 years, to be back here in the place where I started, receiving this very prestigious award is just phenomenal.
It is wonderful to hear from some of our new inductees. Now let's hear from another inductee who you all may be a little bit more familiar with. He graduated in '99 and has been a part of the faculty here for 19 years, 14 of which as the admissions director. So he's probably the reason you students are here today. On top of that, his family has a long history at CBC, with his father, brother, and other closer family members all having graduated from here. We all know and love him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brockman.
What does being a part of the CBC community mean to you?
So it means the world to me. 23 of my 40 years of life have been spent at or around CBC High School. But it actually even goes back beyond that. I mean, I remember I was 8 years old. I was in 4th grade, Miss Henchel's 4th grade math class, actually. And I remember writing CBC on our times tables, our laminated times tables. And she got so mad at me for writing CBC on my laminated times tables. So CBC is a huge part of my life.
How does it feel to be inducted into their Hall of Fame?
That was one of the most humbling things to hear. And I always tell people, being in the Hall of Fame is really, really cool, and it's outstanding, and like I said, very humbling. But knowing what people did and those people who spoke up on my behalf in order to make my nomination go through and ultimately receive the votes to be elected, that was really cool. I wouldn't be here without sacrifices that my parents made, my mom and my dad, right? You know, the sacrifices, I just think of even my wife. I mean, we're emailing back and forth today, you know, just about trying to figure out how I was going to make, I have a VIP official visit tomorrow. We have a showcase on Wednesday. So, you know, her support is just absolutely crucial.
On behalf of the CBC community and all of the students, we'd like to thank you for all the work you've done.
Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Very, like I said, very excited, very humbled.
As our beloved Liz Kosciolek used to say, that was little Jimmy Brockman. What a great week it was, but what a great week it will be. Why, you might ask? Because this week, the Siri players are kicking off their new musical, Godspell. And I bet you'll never guess who's at the helm yet again. The legendary duo of Mr. Tom Murray and Mr. Ed Goetz.
These two have made the CBC theater program the gold standard. Mr. Murray has done more than 130 shows at CBC over his 43 years of teaching drama here. Mr. Goetz has been his partner in crime for more than half of those years, developing amazing, jaw-dropping sets.
With the show launching this week, we thought it would be a great idea to send our own Devin Heron out to talk with them about their wonderful careers.
Well, thanks, guys. Well, I'm here with two of CBC's finest, Mr. Murray and Mr. Goetz. Thank you all very much for coming. And I have a few questions for you guys. So, to start, how did you two get your start at CBC?
Well, I started in 1979, and it was my first job out of college. So, wow. I've literally been here since I got out of college. And Mr. Goetz came a few years later.
Yeah, I was working in the city. And one of the companies I was working for was having trouble. And Mr. Murray heard about it and called me up and said, hey, come to CBC. We're building a theater.
Oh, that's awesome. Throughout your time at CBC, what are some of the most standout performances from cast or crew that you really liked?
High School Musical would be our biggest hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just ridiculous. We had 1,000 billion people come to see the show.
Mm-hmm.
On production-wise, I think the most difficult one was Wizard of Oz. We brought in flying from a company from Vegas. And they helped us fly the witches and everybody. The wizard came flying in the house.
Well, speaking of High School Musical, not many people know this, but we were the first high school ever to do High School Musical.
Well, we were the first high school to do it that wasn't the Disney-sponsored tryout show, yeah. They called us and said, would you like to do it? And we said, sure. And then it was a good move on our part because we got a ton of publicity.
So how many people did you say we got?
We did 9 shows. Basically 360 times 9. And it was insane because that meant 3 days of 2 show days. And the kids were pretty pooped. But, you know, they were basically celebrities. The guy that played Troy had to stay on stage after the show and sign autographs.
Well, so this question's kind of hard, but do you have a favorite play or musical that you've done here before? Think of one you really enjoy.
I do. So
what is it?
Jesus Christ Superstar in 2000.
Ooh.
That was just an amazingly strong cast, most of whom went on to do this professionally, including most of the young ladies and most of the young gentlemen. They did this, and then a whole bunch of them that didn't go on professionally but were awesome. And that cast still hangs out together.
That's cool.
They still hang out together. 21 years later, they have a reunion every Christmas and get together, and they're all over the country. And when they come in for Christmas, they all gather somewhere.
I agree. That was that whole group as they went through school developed like that.
Oh yeah, they were tight the whole time. And it was a mostly senior cast, and they were just always together.
That's really cool. Well, thank you guys both very much for meeting with me. This has been really awesome. I'm Devin Heron. Let's send it back to the anchors.
Thanks, Devin. Wow, that was great. If you want to see the full uncut interview, we will have it available soon. It is definitely worth watching. And how cool is this? A special surprise message from a Siri Player alum to CBC, and especially Mr. Murray.
Hi, I'm Taylor Louderman. I grew up in a small town called Bourbon, Missouri, which is about an hour from CBC. My school was in a very rural community. We didn't have a strong theater program, and I had heard from my friends at Muni that CBC was where it's at. So I auditioned and got a part in Urinetown, the musical, which is about a society where you have to pay to pee. And I just had the best time. I would drive an hour every day after school or soccer practice to go do these shows because I loved it so much, and I loved working with Mr. Murray and just everyone there. It felt like such a strong community. Since then, I've gotten to do some Broadway shows like Mean Girls, Bring It On, Kinky Boots, and I'm currently doing Keenan on NBC with Kenan Thompson. So I just look back and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of that program, and I hope you all know how lucky you are to have such a strong magical theater program at your school. It's not a huge priority for a lot of schools, and I just think that speaks so highly of CBC, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of it.
It was great to actually have a homecoming this year, and we are so fortunate to have the fantastic theater program that we do with Mr. Goetz and Mr. Murray running the show.
What careers they have had. With their next show, Godspell, premiering tonight, we decided to sit down with some of the cast to talk about the show. What character do you play, and how would you describe your character in Godspell?
So I play the role of Anna Maria, or Ava Ray, as it's been named after myself, and my character is the first one to come to Christ and become saved. And she's the first one to sing a song declaring her faith. And she's kind of the hippie flower child of the group.
I am playing Judas and John the Baptist. And John the Baptist and Judas are Jesus' close friends that ultimately betray him. So it's very fun to play kind of a evil type character.
I play the role of John Paul Sartre, who is a philosopher and an atheist, so he kind of goes against the Bible.
Okay, and that character is in the opening song of the show, correct?
Yes, the opening song of Tower of Babel, which is, as the Bible story goes, it's all these people with different beliefs and they're screaming at each other. It's one big bonanza of music.
All right, awesome. So what do you think Godspell is about? How would you describe it?
I would describe Godspell as an open interpretation of the Bible and the stories within it.
It's a modern way of telling the book of Matthew, and it's just a lot of fun. Every song is amazing. It is a different genre, and just there's no bad songs in Godspell. So if you come to the show, you'll really enjoy it, I promise.
Modern day retelling of the Gospel of Matthew, and it's lots of dancing, lots of music, bright colors. It's a good old time.
Okay, so what are you most looking forward to before opening night?
The Sitzprobe, where we sing with the entire pit and orchestra.
When we first get to be put in costumes, because the costumes for the show is going to be really interesting and something we've really never seen before in the show.
I think I'm just looking forward to bonding with this cast even more and getting to sing this beautiful music together. It's been such a fun experience. And costumes, of course.
Finally, why do you think people should come and see the show?
Because no, I'm kidding. Because we have a cast that's worked so hard on it, and they're all so incredibly talented. Every song's amazing, and it's just a great story about community and love and coming together, which we definitely need during this time.
Because it's so fun. Like, it's a modern day telling of like the gospel, and it's fun to see like a different version of the Bible, if you say that.
I think people should come and see the show because it's a show for all ages and all different types of people. If you're a Catholic, if you're an atheist, all around it's just a great show for anyone to see.
I sure am excited for the musical premiering tonight. As our show comes to a close once more, we again have a challenge for all of you guys watching. This includes alum, faculty, staff, students, and even family. If you have any good news at all, no matter what it is, please tell us. It doesn't matter how big or small. We want to hear your stories and share them with CBC community. Send a message to the Leadership in Action crew at latheshow@cbchs.org.
Once again, guys, we'd like to thank you for joining us today on Leadership in Action, the show, LIA for short. I'm Leo Ramos.
I'm Landon Hartzell, and hope to see you next week.